Welcome to Beth's Happy Home. I have something really fun for you. Recently we had to take a trip that we hadn't expected to take, and so we went on a discount airline, and after I'd already booked the tickets, I realized that they don't allow you to bring even a carry-on on that airline. They only allow you a personal item. And so I looked into it, and it turns out that the personal item that they allow is pretty big if you maximize all the dimensions, but you can't just go down to the store and buy a bag that is the precise dimensions for the maximum space in a personal item for those airlines. It turns out also that there are a bunch of airlines that all have the same limitations on personal items, and they charged over $100 for us to check a bag. And so I decided to make one. I made this one first, and this is the one that I took on my trip, and I really like it. It's made out of heavy canvas. It's lined. I used a light color lining because it's easier to find things in the bag when it has a light colored lining. This is an indoor-outdoor fabric that's waterproof, and so it would be very sturdy, and I will enjoy it, but it does have some limitations, and that is that it doesn't have any inside pockets, and I couldn't bring my computer. But what it does have that I like is this pouch that is just the right size to hold that Ziploc bag, the quart size Ziploc bag that you need in order to put your toiletries in and carry them on board. And so it also will fit your phone charger, and in this case it will also fit your computer cord. So it does have that nifty feature on the outside, and then on this side it has a cell phone pocket, because you're not going to have a purse, because this is the only personal item that you can carry on. And so I liked having these features, but I really missed a couple of other things. For one thing, I missed being able to take my computer. So I do have my cell phone pocket on this side. This is my Ziploc bag, toiletry bag pocket that will hold my charger as well as my cord for my computer. But on this side of the bag, I also made this half differently so that I would have a pocket for my computer. And I like it that it's on the outside. I can slip it out in security, and I can slip it right back in as soon as I'm through security, and I won't have to take all of my luggage apart like you so often do. I also lined this pocket with some fleece on the inside with a triple layer on the bottom, so that it will be cushioned if I put my bag down kind of hard and I don't want to break my hinges on my computer. So this has the advantage of being also a computer bag that closes with hook and loop tape, Velcro sometimes called. And on the inside, this bag doesn't have any inside pockets, and so I added an underwear pocket so that my socks and underwear can be separated from the rest of my clothes. I don't have to dig around to find them when I need them every day. And then the last thing that I added on this one is this little purse, and I put some Velcro tabs on the sides with matching Velcro on the inside so that I can just stick it on the inside right there. And then when I get to my destination, my purse is already loaded, and I can carry this, and I don't have to carry this around everywhere I go for my purse. So this is actually a very easy addition, and I will show it to you last, because it's kind of a repeat of some of the techniques that we're using to make this. And so that is what we're going to do. This will be the ultimate personal item, because it's going to be the maximum size allowed by the majority of airports, and it's also going to be having all those little conveniences of pockets and zippers and pouches for everything that you want to take on board with you. And you might be surprised, but this bag has plenty of room for all the clothes that you're going to need. So let's get started. these pattern pieces and put the markings on here that I suggest that you put on, you're going to be surprised at how easy it is to stitch this together. So we're going to start with a piece of paper that is 26 inches wide and 23 inches tall. And once you have that rectangle at the top on the lengthwise, so it will be the 23-inch part, you write the word top. So you want the wider side going this way, the shorter side going this way, and the word top right there. Then fold your rectangle in half and cut out 4 inches out of the top and the bottom so that you have a cross. And each of the corners has 4 inches cut away from it. Then measure down from that top on the fold 5.5 inches and make a dot. And then measure down about an inch from this edge, another 5.5 inches down, and make a dot and draw a line between those two dots. So once you've got that line marked, I want you to measure from the fold to the right of the fold 1 inch this direction, that direction, and then to the left of the fold you're going to measure 8 inches, so you're going to end up with a line that is 9 inches long, but 1 inch overlaps that fold line. So mark that and then cut that line, cut it through the pattern so that you have a 9-inch cut and 1 inch overlaps the fold. Then measure down again 5.5 inches on the right side of the fabric on the pattern from the top, and just make a couple of marks measuring that 5.5 inches, and then draw a line this way too, because that's going to indicate the top of your phone pocket. So once that is made, that's the pattern piece for the main body of the fabric, and that's going to be 17, when it's finished, it's going to be 17 inches wide, 14 inches tall, and 8 inches deep, which is 1 inch shy of the width that most airlines allow, but the others are going to all be the same. And the reason that we're making it only 17 inches wide is because there's one airline that only allows 17 inches, and you may as well make it so that it will fit with that one too. So we'll sacrifice that extra 1 inch of width. So the next piece that you need to make is a piece of paper that is 30.5 inches long by 4 inches wide. So once you have that, set it aside. That's the strap. The next piece needs to be 6 inches wide and 10 inches tall. This is going to be your cell phone body. Once you have that done, set it aside. Then my original bag did not have an inside pocket, and so this bag is going to be my ultimate bag, and it has an inside pocket. It doesn't need to be a zippered pocket, it just needs to be a little bit of a divider so that you can put your socks and your underwear in that part of the bag, and you don't have to dig through the rest of it. You can always find them really easily. It's a way of organizing it without going to a lot of extra work. And then the last piece that has to do with the organization of the bag is the pocket that's going to be a zippered pocket. Now this is the one that will hold the quart size Ziploc bag that you're going to put all your toiletries in, because you're going to cut a piece of paper that is 23 inches tall, 11 inches wide. And then you're going to duplicate that slot that you cut on that body piece by measuring down 1 inch from the top of this pocket piece. Measure down 1 inch and then fold the piece in half. Measure 4.5 inches both ways from the fold and cut that. So you now have a piece with a slot just an inch below the top. If you're going to make the bag that has the computer pocket on one side of the outside of the bag, cut one that is again 26 inches wide, just like the first one was, and it's going to be 49.5 inches long. In front of you, write the word bottom on the left end. So I've got bottom written right there. And then fold your paper in half and cut out the corners the same way you did on the other one. So this is a 4-inch corner here and a 4-inch corner here. Get get those. The easiest way to draft this piece is simply to take this body piece, put the bottoms at the same side, matching up the corners that have been cut out, those 4-inch corners, so now it's laid right on top of there, and then just draw a mark where these corners go. Once you have those corners marked, you probably want to put that aside, fold this piece in half all the way along, match these corners really neatly. Then you just measure out 4 inches up all the way along here so that you're cutting out a 4-inch strip on each side of this. So it's going to be cross-shaped. And you unfold it. See what I mean? So there's a 4-inch wide strip that runs the length of this body, and that actually is the exact match to your strap. So you can actually use this as your strap pattern. So now we're going to draft this little purse that velcros to the inside of your personal item. It's very simple. You need to start with a strap that is 14 inches long by 4 inches wide. Just make a piece of paper that's those dimensions, and then get another piece of paper that is 13 inches wide by 11 inches tall. Now the height is 11 inches, so put on one edge the word top so that you keep track of which way the purse is oriented. Once you have that made, you're going to fold it so that it's now 11 inches tall by 6.5 inches wide because of the fold in the paper. Then measure out from the fold 3.5 inches and make a mark. I measure up 5 inches from the bottom and make another little mark right there. So here's your 3.5 inch mark, here's your 5-inch mark. Then all you're going to do is connect these two marks with a curved line. While the paper is still folded, cut that off like this. Okay, so that's going to give you a little bit of a pouch shape to your purse. And then up here at the top, this top corner, you're just going to measure down 1 inch and in 1 inch, a 1-inch notch out of the top, and this curved line right here. So the last thing to do is to cut a little notch in the bottom of this purse so that it will have a little bit of a floor to sit on. You're going to put a little box pleat there so that it will sit like that rather than just flopping like an envelope things. So just measure up 1 inch from right where that curve starts, angle. So I've got this coming up 1 inch. Draw a right angle over to this edge, so it's going to be a little bit more than 1 inch. It's probably closer to 1 3/4 inches to get out to that curved edge. Let's see how it measures. Yeah, it's exactly 1 3/4 inches, but now I'll cut this notch out also. And cutting these little notches is just going to give the pouch, the little purse pouch, a really cute shape. And it only adds about 5 minutes extra labor to give it that shape. So this is what you're going to end up with. You need to cut 2 of the body of the fabric, 2 of the lining of the fabric. With your strap, you need 1 piece of your strap because it will be folded in half like that when you make it. And if it's flimsy fabric, interface it. If it's not, don't interface it. All right, the very first piece that we're going to work on is this piece that is the big long piece that we're going to put the laptop pocket in. So as you can see, I've cut it out, and now I'm going to lay it face down. And then I have already applied a fusible interfacing. Now you don't need to do this if you're using a heavy canvas fabric. This is kind of flimsy, and so I decided that it would be better to go ahead and put a layer of interfacing on it. It's still fairly lightweight. So once you've done that, You have it all ironed out and attached. I am also going to add on this piece a layer of quilter's fleece. Now, that's what it's called in the fabric store, or if you're ordering it online, just quilter's fleece. It's just a very, very thin layer of batting, and I'm going to lay it on the piece, even with this part right here, so straight across there, and then I'm going to just tease it down maybe 1/4 of an inch. So it's just lying on this tail part of the pocket. Then I'm going to fold the whole thing up. In fact, I'm going to put a few pins just to keep this fleece in place. Okay, the fleece should stay put. And then you're going to flip this tail up so that it's even with this line right here. So you've got your 4-inch cutout there, and then this is where you've got this corner. You want it even with that corner, like this. You're going to fold this end of the tail back on top of itself, so now it's going to be right sides together, and you're going to just leave a 4-inch overlap. So the lip that's right here that I just created should be 4 inches from this cut edge. So I'll make sure that it's right on the money. That side is a little bit shy, so I need to pull it out. Let's see. I have that checked and double checked, and I jostled it just then, so I ruined my measurement. Hold that in place, and then iron that crease into this piece of fabric so that you've got a really good sturdy crease that you'll be able to use as a gauge. Flip this back just a little bit and iron this crease in really well too. I'm going to cut an extra strip of this quilter's fleece. In fact, this is double wide, and just make it twice as long as the width of this pocket, double it over, and then I'm going to wrap it around this corner, and that will cushion that bottom corner, or that bottom edge where the laptop is likely to get crunched down on the ground if you put your bag down with too much force. This is what it looks like from the back, and this is what it looks like from the front, which should be pretty identical to what it would look like, what the other piece would look like that doesn't have the pocket. So here's my pocket right here. The first step for sewing is I'm going to pin through all the layers right here just to hold them in place, but don't pin too close to this folded edge that's forming the upper lip of the pocket, because you're going to fold that down to apply either your zipper or your Velcro. Oh, here's my little piece of Velcro. This piece is 3 inches long. I'm going to measure to find the middle of the top of my pocket here. The 9-inch mark is right there. So that's where my Velcro is going to go. I am going to stick it on, and then I'm going to stitch it on. So I'm centering it, and I'm going to lift up this lip right there, get it centered, and then fold that down back on and in exactly the right position for holding this pocket closed. So now I ought to be able to peel the two parts of Velcro apart, and I can, and I'm going to take it to the machine, but I'm just going to sew around all the edges on both sides of this Velcro. And while I'm down there, I'm also going to stitch, flip this over again, so I'll open it up like that and stitch here and here. And then this piece will be done. All right, I've got this part done, and this is what it looks like on the front. This is what it looks like on the back. Now you can see right here, that's where I stitched down the Velcro through the fleece and through the outside fabric. There's the Velcro, nice and tight, stitched down and glued down with the sticky backing. I've got it cut out. You can see the fabric is on the back of the pattern, and I have already applied an interfacing, just an iron-on interfacing to this wimpy fabric. And now I'm going to transfer the marks that are in the pattern through the slots that are in the pattern. So the top is marked right here. I fit it exactly square with the fabric. And then I'm going to put my pen through the slot that I cut and just transfer that line onto the fabric. Now for the pocket placement, I think I just want it to line up evenly with this pocket. So on the pattern I have it marked right here, but I don't want to put a line on the outside of my fabric because it could show, especially if there's a little gap when the phone is in there. So I'm going to make a little hole in the pattern down about 3/4 of an inch, and I'm just going to mark through there. Just a little dot, and that will help me to align. I know to place the pocket for the cell phone up about 3/4 of an inch higher than these little dots, and it should be even with this zipper pocket. Now, the only thing that needs to be done for this piece is we need to apply these two pockets. So for the pockets that go on this side of the bag, you're going to have your Ziploc bag for toiletry pocket, and you're going to have your cell phone pocket. And so we're just using a lining fabric for this. This is very lightweight, and I would use something a little bit heavier, but I had this, and I very much want to use a light colored fabric on the inside of this bag because it's so much easier to find things inside a bag or a purse if the lining is light colored. So that's why I went for this lightweight yellow. So I have this pattern piece laid on top of the fabric that I've already cut out, and I'm going to transfer this same slot mark, should be 9 inches long, onto the fabric. Now I'm not worried about getting the pen onto this part of the fabric because this is going to be cut away and turned down when I sew the pocket on. So now that I have that one done, I'll move this off, and I'm going to stitch this pocket. So the thing that you do is you match this line with this line at the ends and pin it into place. So you can just get it lined up. You're going to go back to your sewing machine and you're going to sew 1/4 of an inch all the way along the top of this line. You're going to cross it down so that there's a 1/2 inch wide little stitching going like that, and then you're going to stitch 1/4 of an inch below that line so that you have sewn this piece onto this piece. The sewing machine, and do that for this one. Whoops, I don't want to take that pin out. And then I'll bring you back. Alright, I've got this stitched down just 1 inch from the end, as you can see. This stitching goes right here. This is the mark that we made that's 9 inches long. That pin can come out. So now I'm going to fold this in half like that. It doesn't have to be exactly in half. But it does need to be straight. So I matched these edges, made it straight, and I'm just going to take a cut like that to get it started, and then I'm going to cut along that heavy black line that I made, and then when I get to the end right here, not quite to the end, about 1/4 of an inch away from this end of the stitching, I'm going to make a clip into the corner and a clip into this corner. So I have this little triangular tab that I've cut. Same thing on this direction. Just clip into the corner clip into that corner. You want to cut right to the stitching but not through it. Okay. Alright, once you have this all cut, you're going to take all of these, you're going to turn this seam allowance to the inside all the way around. Give it a little press while it's still, while this part is still on the outside of your fabric, but that's turning your seam allowances to the inside. Do the same thing on this side. And take this whole piece of the pocket, the whole part of the pocket, this part and this part, and just stuff it through to the other side. So the seam allowances are already pressed in this direction and this direction, up and down. Just pull this fabric tight to the inside. Get as much of this pucker out of the corner as you can. You don't really want any pucker at all, and the closer you get to that stitching, when you clip it, the better it's going to be. But you should be able to just pull this lining fabric up right around that opening. So you should have, when you're done, you should have an opening on the outside of your bag that is 1/2 inch wide, because it was 1/4 inch on each side of that black line that we drew. So we're going to leave this with this part of the edge of the pocket up and this part down. And then we're going to place the zipper in this opening. I've got my zipper right here. It's 12 inches long. The opening is only 9 inches long, so I have plenty of extra room to play with. And I'm going to make sure that I kind of center it on my extra long zipper. Then I will sew this zipper tape into place with the teeth centered on the opening all the way along here. And then, so anyway, I'm going to stitch it along this top part, and then part way around here. Then I'm going to pull open this zipper tab, get it completely out of the way, and stitch the rest of the way around and across the top so that it's completely sewn in, and it top stitches this opening at the same time. So I'll bring you right back when I've sewn this zipper into the opening. Alright, now I've got this top stitch. This zipper is top stitched in here. You can see the zipper moves freely, but there's nothing behind it yet. This is what it looks like on the other side. So here's that little 1 inch allowance that was at the top, and here is the rest of the body of this pocket. So now all you do is pin this, matching the upper edge with the bottom edge of the pocket piece, and you're going to stitch. You'll start here at the bottom of the fold, you'll stitch all the way around across the top and down the other side, and then this pocket will be finished. So I will do that in just a second. I'm going to do that on my serger, but in the meantime, I'm going to get my other pocket that's for my cell phone. Here are my 2 dots to put it evenly on the front of the bag. So once you have your pocket cut out, you're going to press under 1/4 inch at the top, and then go all the way around and press under 1/4 inch all the way around these edges, all 4 sides. All of those corners are pressed down, and then fold from this edge with this pressed edge, fold another inch down like that. Make sure the edges are in, and then press it down an inch. Once you have this pocket all ironed and nice and neat, you're going to put the Velcro onto the top of this pocket before you stitch it down. In the middle of the pocket, because you are going to stitch it down and the stitching will show on the outside. So make a crease so that you know exactly where the middle is, but you're doing it on the inside of the pocket. And then place this as close to the edge, about 1/8 of an inch from the edge. And then peel off the other backing on the one that's still outside, because each of the separate pieces has backing on it. And very carefully line it up with this, line it up with those dots that you've made on your fabric. Make sure it's nice and straight, and then press it down really well. Then put a couple of pins in the bottom of your pocket, just the bottom corner, to hold it straight. But then when you get down to your sewing machine, before you stitch this pocket into place, you're going to peel back the Velcro, stitch a square, stitch around the edge, and stitch around this edge. But do that before you stitch the pocket down. It'll be a lot easier. So I'm going to go do that. First I'll stitch the inside of this pocket right here. Then I'm going to stitch the Velcro on this one, around that one, and around this one. And then I will stitch around the outside of this pocket, and I'll bring you back. Alright, we've got this all stitched together. This is the back side of this body piece. You can see the stitching on the pocket goes around the top and down the other side. This is the fold, so there's no stitching there. I'll take out this pin. I put this pin here because I didn't want this flopping over and getting caught in the pocket, because that's happened to me before. And then you can see through the back that that's where the Velcro is stitched on for the cell phone pocket. This is what it looks like on the front. So the zipper goes in like that, just the right size. And as you can see, I have my cell phone in a really big, bulky case. So that width is going to be plenty wide enough for even a large cell phone. All right, I'm putting my pattern piece over the lining that I've cut already, because I want to make sure that I don't accidentally get it twisted like this, because it doesn't fit that way. It only fits this way, and it would be just something I would do is to sew it in sideways. So this is the top as is designated by the pattern piece. This is my underwear pocket to go right about here. Socks and underwear are going to go inside this little pocket like that. And so I just want to place it like that. I want to turn under a hem on the top, 2 rolls, and press it. Just to make it nice and neat. And then press under 1/4 of an inch all the way along the sides, thus pressed up. You don't have to do it right on top of the other fabric, but that's what I'm doing today for no important reason. I'm going to take my marker, and I'm just going to mark just inside where I want those corners to go. Through one layer and the well, I need to flip the pocket actually. So I'll flip the pocket so that the corners are lined up with those dots, but they're covering the dots. And then I'm going to put a couple of pins down here in the bottom just to keep it straight, but only through one layer. We'll pull this other layer out of the way. We're not doing anything with it at the moment. So I've got a single layer here. I'm not going to pin the top because while I've got it nice and flat, I'll pin it to the sides and along the bottom just to keep it straight. I think it needs to be a little higher over here actually. And then I'm going to leave this part loose above halfway. So I'm going to go to my sewing machine and I'm going to stitch across here, and then I will lay this flat and stitch like that around the outside of the pocket. Okay, I've got my underwear pocket sewn on the inside of my lining. So all it is that turned up edge and then stitched around these 3 sides. So this piece of the lining is done. We'll put it over here. Find the middle of the fabric by folding it in half. There's the middle right there. I'm going to put a pin to mark it. And this time I'm going to peel off both sides of the Velcro sticky protector. Put it about right there. Now remember, this is going to show on the outside of my little purse that I'm doing. Like that. Stick it down and then kind of eyeball it. So now that that is stuck down really well, I'm going to just peel off the purse part of it and set that aside. When I work on the purse, I'll stitch these down. But for now, before I start putting the bag together, the bag itself together, that's the strap for the purse. But before I start putting the bag itself together, I want to stitch these little Velcro tabs on this piece of the lining down. So the only thing that's left to do before we start actually assembling this bag with all of its fancy pockets is to make the strap. So here's my strap cut out of that fabric, and I'm going to just fold it in half, put the right sides together, and stitch all the way along this seam up and down. So I will bring you back when I've stitched down my Velcro and I've finished my strap. I've got this piece of lining, this other piece of lining that does not have the pocket on it. The only thing I've done to it is stitch down this Velcro tape right here. And I just want to make a note, it isn't Velcro, it's actually called hook and loop tape, and Velcro is a trade name. But put the hook side, or the rougher side of that hook and loop tape, on the lining, and put the softer one, the loop side that's kind of fuzzy, on the purse, because as you're carrying this around, you might have it in contact with your arm or your shoulder or your underarm, and you don't want it to be all rough. So put the rough part inside the lining of your bag. Now, as you can see also, I've sewn this together, sewn this strap together. I did reinforce this strap with interfacing because of this wimpy fabric. And so now I'm getting ready to turn it right side out, and I'm just going to thread a safety pin, nice big one, by hooking it onto that one and then turning it to the inside. And then I should be able to just pull it right through. Once you get it going, it's really easy, but it's kind of resisting getting going for me. Come on, there we go. That should work. Just pull it on through. Now I'm going to give this a press. You are going to be surprised at how quickly it goes from this point. But there are a few little tricks that you need to pay careful attention to. Because if you do it wrong, it's going to not have the right part of the bag on the outside. So take your pocket side, the body of your bag, and take the piece that has the zipper and the cell phone pocket. Then take a strip of zipper tape or a zipper that is at least 18 inches long and lay it face down. So you're going to have the tab facing down. And since I cut a piece of zipper tape that is longer than this length right here, that's going to be the top of the bag, I'm going to hang the tab, the pull tab, off the edge so that I don't have to worry about it while I'm sewing. So I'm going to lay that right on the edge of my fabric face down. So notice it's this edge that's going against the fabric. And then take your piece of lining that has the little Velcro tabs on it, like that. And you want to put these two pieces together, and there is a reason for it because of the way you're going to pack your bag when the time comes, that you put these two pieces together, although it's not going to ruin it if you use this one with the other one, and it doesn't really matter. You'll notice that there's a bunch of little threads up here. That's because I already sewed this on the zipper, and I sewed it on wrong, and I had to tear it out, and I haven't bothered to tear out these little hairy things yet because they will be captured when I sew it together again. This right side down, and you're going to match these edges really carefully because you want these corners to end up matching each other. And make sure that your pockets are up here, so the openings of your pockets are nearest the zipper. So now we have this little sandwich, and we'll put a couple of pins in it going through the zipper tape and through the lining and through the body of the fabric, the body of the bag. And then I'm going to stitch here, but let me show you the effect. So after we stitch, we turn it out. You've got a clean edge here on the inside of the bag, and then you'll have a clean edge here on the outside of the bag. And so that's what you're going to do. I'm going to stitch it right here along the sandwich. I'm going to use my serger, but if you don't have a serger, you can just use a zipper foot if you want to, but I would go ahead and zigzag along that other edge if you're not going to serge it, because you want this seam, this union, to be very strong. Or you could stitch it twice just without zigzagging it. But you want this to be very, very strong. And if you are using a serger, be careful not to cut the tape as you go along. So as I go along, I'm going to make sure that these edges are lined up perfectly all the way along as I stitch. So I'm going to go very slowly and carefully and get that really nice and clean and neat. Now, in order to sew the other side of the bag onto the zipper, you're going to open this out and flip it around like that. And then you're going to lay the lining that has your underwear pocket in it. I hope you included that step. You'll be surprised how much you miss it if you don't. And then lay the zipper even with that. And you want to match up these edges. And this edge of the lining that has the underwear pocket in it needs to go even with the zipper lining, or with the zipper edge. So pull it over here so that it lines up on that side with this edge against the edge of the zipper. So it's this line right here, this edge right here, that needs to line up with the rest of this body of the bag. So it's not going to line up here. It's not supposed to right now. It's lining up this edge against the underside of the zipper, and this edge over here, let's see, it looks like it's not lined up nicely. You should see this yellow peeking out right there because you've got it ending with the zipper right here. So that looks right to me. Now, this piece that has your computer pocket in it right there goes face down. Make sure that the top of the pocket is toward the zipper, and you're just going to sandwich that zipper exactly the way you did before, but now you've got the rest of the bag in the middle. So just lay it so that these edges are together and the top of this piece is even with this zipper, the edge of the zipper. So once you get that lined up, make sure that these edges are matched really well, really carefully on both sides, and then keep it really tightly matched all the way along as you're sewing it. Just go really slowly, make sure that these are lined up all the way down. Now right now I've got this hanging over, I don't want it that much. I'm gonna put it like that. Okay, so that is going to be a nice match. I'll be really careful, stitch along here really, really slowly. Then I'm going to flip the whole thing out and I'll do some top stitching, but I'll show you when I get to that point. You'd be surprised at how close you were to being done when we got to the stage where we started assembling all the pieces. But this is where we are right now. We've got these two pieces, these are the tops. So you've got your cell phone pocket, your Ziploc bag pocket, your computer pocket. There's the zipper opening, and we're ready to start sewing the bag itself together. So the first thing that you're going to do at this stage is iron this really well, get it good and pressed, and then you're going to run a top stitch on it right there and right there with your regular sewing machine. So I'll do that now. I'll bring it right back. Okay, this is all top stitched. So that's the main zipper that's going to go on the top of the bag. The next step is where it really starts to get fun because it's going to start looking like a bag. Now, flip the side that has the cell phone pocket on it and the zipper pocket over onto the other side of the body, and then lift up that and hang on to the computer pouch and flip the lining side to the other side of the project so that the lining is on one side and the body of the bag is on the other side. Then match up all of the edges of the lining and the body, and you're going to want to match it right there, put a few pins. Even though this looks like it's not matched up, pull it up so that it is matched. And you're not going to sew into the corner right now. You're going to just match the fabric and sew along each edge, each of the three edges of the lining when they're matched up together. And then do the same thing over here. Just stitch along, match the edges together, and stitch along this side and that side. So you have 6 seams that you're going to make right now. Just make sure that the pocket stays here, and on this side that this pocket stays there so it doesn't get flapped around and maybe caught in the stitching somewhere else. So kind of hang on to it as you carry it to your machine, and I'll bring you back when this is all done. We're getting really close to being finished. All right, we are getting so close. These edges are stitched together right here, and the same on the lining piece, the bottom, but at the very bottom of the lining, I left a gap of about 5 inches because that's where I'm going to turn it right side out. And so all of the edges are done. The next step is, these are kind of fun because it's like magic, where what you want to do is take the corner right here, pinch these inside corners, and match the 2 seams. So I'll do that again just so that you get a good look at it. You've got this corner right here and this corner right here. You're going to open them out and match them together. And then you're going to stitch along the inside of there. So you're matching the bottom seam with the side seam. You're going to stitch right across there. It's going to make a box shape. You'll do the same thing over here. Match those two seams together. Sew them. Do the same thing on the lining so that this also forms that nifty box. Like that. So once you've got those 4 done, then you're going to be ready to sew in the strap, and then I'm going to show you a quick tutorial of how to make the little purse that goes on the inside. But we're getting so close. I'll be right back and I'll show you when I've turned it into a box. Alright, I've got these box corners all sewn together. So you can see how this bag is taking shape. This measures 8 inches, so that's exactly what you want. That's the depth that is allowed. They're the same in this lining. You've got this box shape going. So here's the top. This is where your zipper is, to the top of the bag. I have the zipper open, and I'm going to turn this tape, this zipper tape, to the inside, matching the edges of the bag to itself. Now this one has gotten a little bit off so that the lining doesn't line up exactly with this, and so I'm gonna go for the match up the shorter one, and then I'll have to cut this off as I go, but you don't need to take it apart for that if you have that problem, and it's kind of hard to avoid. So I'm pinning the zipper tape together because I've got the teeth turned toward the lining and I want those to stay put. And then I'm going to do the same thing that I did before at the bottom corners with this corner on top, because I want it to be a square top to make it so that it will have the maximum space. So I'm going to grab these corners, pinch them into place, and then bring this side seam up to match where this zipper tape is, like this. So we can kind of flatten that open. You can see where it needs to go. Matching this seam right here that is stitching the zipper on to this seam right here, which is the side seam on the lining. So just match that up, put a pin, put another pin over here, same way, so that the corner is pulling it right up, this seam matching again with that seam. So that's the same seam that's matching both sides, so you're not going to pin it tightly right there. You're going to flare those out just a little bit. So you've got that lining pinned together so that these edges will be together. And then you're going to do the same thing on the body part of it by grabbing the corners and pulling them open so that the side seam here on the bag meets up with this zipper, the zipper tape right there. But anyway, you ought to be able to pinch the corner and pull it flat so that the zipper tape matches the side seam. And then, since this is already holding the lining right there, kind of pull it up even so you've got 4 layers, 2 of lining and 2 of the body. Take out that pin and put it through all 4 layers. Do the same on the other side. So we're going to bring this corner in to meet. You'll want to pin that zipper tape in place, I'm sure, just so that it is meeting up. And since this yellow side right here is already matched up, just match up these two edges right here and put a pin in it. It probably will be easier if you leave your zipper together, but the zipper pull got taken off of this, and so I'm going to put it on last. So match up this yellow corner with this blue corner and make sure that you capture all the raw edges. So there you have what you're going to do. You're going to stitch across here. You're going to capture both the yellow and the blue at the same time, but this is where we put our strap in. We want our strap to go right here on the side, and so you're going to insert the strap into the inside. We'll catch it on the other side in a minute. Now, I've been using the serger to give a lot of strength to the seams in this bag, but right now I'm not going to use the serger because after I stitch this strap on and I stitch this top edge right here, I'm going to also tack this down on the inside, sewing from the outside. I'm going to tack it down so that it's like this on the inside, so that it's extra reinforced. And so I don't want to cut it off. I want it to be stitched through 2 layers. And so I'm not going to use my serger, even though I could use my serger without the blade, but it gets really bulky and it's kind of hard to make it look right. So now I've got my strap all stuffed in. I'm going to leave it with about a 1-inch tab there, and that will be hanging down, and then when I turn it right side out, that will be down against the side, and I'll be able to stitch it flat and reinforce it. But for now, I'm going to line up the zipper so that the teeth are even with each other, line up the side seam for the yellow, line up the side seam with the blue, and I'm going to stitch right across here. So I promise it's not going to look so messy once it's been stitched, but just run about a 5/8 of an inch seam right across there and kind of pull it straight. Keep some tension on it as you go. And then I'm going to do the same thing, the exact same thing on the other side. I'm going to reach in here. I'm going to grab that strap. I should have put it in that way from the first. And do exactly the same thing on this side. And once I have both of those sides done, I'm going to bring you back. All right, this looks very confusing. But here is one end of the bag right here. Here's the other end of the bag right here. This is going to be the top of the bag, so that's where the strap is coming out. I stitched that on my sewing machine and then I zigzagged it so that it would be nice and sturdy. Because the strap is going to have a lot of pressure on it. And I didn't cut it off because I'm going to turn it down and then stitch it on the outside. The same thing over here. You can kind of see the zipper hanging out. I could trim off this zipper. In fact, I think I will trim the zipper off. But there's that strap that's going to be fastened down just to give a little extra strength. So let's watch this butterfly come out of its chrysalis. So I'm going to reach in here and I rethreaded the zipper pull, so I'm going to open it up and start. I think what we'll do is reach down here, grab a handful of the bottom of this bag and start pulling it out. And I think I can tease the whole thing out of this hole. but it ain't gonna be pretty. Childbirth is nicer to watch. But this is kind of fun. Just keep stuffing it through the hole. You don't have to make sense of it until it's completely out. Here we go. Here it comes. It's a girl. Oh, this is the computer part of the bag that didn't come through with the rest. Got to pull that up and out. Open that a little bit more, just for fun. Here it comes. The rest of it needs to be tucked through that hole. Even though it looks like it's all the way through, it's not quite yet. Got that computer pocket. So, oh, isn't that just gorgeous? So let's reach inside, kind of fluff it out, tuck the corners out. Now you might notice I did not trim any of these corners up here because there's going to be quite a lot of weight and pressure on those corners, and you want to have plenty of fabric to support all of that stress that's going to be going on there. There's a little tag that can be trimmed. Now I've still got this little edge, this little strap that's going down right here, and so I'm going to just stitch like this and stitch an X across there and across the bottom so that this strap will be a little bit reinforced. That will also, when I stitch across there, that will also be one more stitching through the zipper. And then the zipper will close like this. So I'll reinforce that strap, and then I'm going to stitch the opening that I left in the lining that I turned that right side out with. I'll just turn these edges in, and then I will stitch across there. And then the bag proper will be finished, but then I'm going to show you really quickly how to make the purse. The purse is a super simple version of this same project, the same principles, but it will be super easy and it'll be really cute too. So I'm going to go do that. I'll show you when I've done it, and then we'll do the purse. All right, we're ready to assemble this bag. As you remember, this purse piece has its Velcro already applied. And now we're going to put the zipper in by laying the right side of the zipper, in other words the side with the pull tab, down against the right side of the body of the purse. And so we're going to match these edges right here, and then we're going to lay the right side of the lining against the zipper there so that the right side of the lining and the right side of this fabric are together, and match all the edges so that they are lying straight. And most importantly, this edge right here, I'm going to put a couple of pins through the zipper, the lining, and the body of my little purse. And as you might note, the ends of the zipper are hanging out over the edges of those notches. That's just the way I like it. That way the pull is out of the way as I stitch it, and I don't have to open and close the zipper until after I have already made these seams. All right, so we have this piece sewn here at the top. So the zipper and the lining are sewn together with the body of the fabric. Now we're going to do just like we did with the bigger bag and flip these flat. So there we have it. After I have stitched both of these links, I will top stitch this one. So we'll lay this lining piece down with the top right here away from you, and then lay the zipper on top of it, matching that edge and matching the edges of the bag. But most importantly, matching the centers on the zipper and the bag itself. Edges matching up right there. And so this side is, you can notice I put a pocket in this piece, a zippered pocket, which I'm not going to include in the video, but you can do the exact same thing by just adding a zippered pocket like we did on the big bag, and there's even a separate video that shows you exactly how to do that if you just want to see how to do the zippered bag, the zippered part of it again. So you match up this edge with the center of the bag and put a pin so that now your sandwich has the first two that you sewed together on the inside. Those are those right there. And then you have lining to lining and body to body. Now the bottoms are not going to line up here, they're not supposed to. And just put a few pins up here to hold this sandwich all together. Okay, now that this is pinned into place, I'm going to do the same thing and stitch along here. Then I'm going to open this out and open out the underlining like this, and I'm going to top stitch across here so that that makes a nice clean zipper opening. But first in line is to get this stitched. And I'll bring you back when both of those steps are done and show you how they turned out. Alrighty, I have this stitched together and top stitched along here. And I also went ahead and made the strap while I was down there so that it would be ready to go. It's exactly the same as the one that I made for the other bag, for the main bag. So the next thing to do is to match these edges, and then on the main body of the bag you're going to stitch here and here on each side. On the lining part you're going to stitch in about 1 inch on each side of the bottom and stitch along here and here just to the notches, but don't sew around the notches there or here. Alright, these seams are all sewn. The next thing to do is to sew these little box pleats, and just like you did with the bigger bag, you just pinch the corners together so that the bottom seam and the side seams match, and that gives you a nice little pleat. Stitch across there. Do the same on this side, the same on the yellow, and when those 4 box pleats are done, I will bring you back and we'll put the strap in, and then we'll be done. You're going to stick this in, you're going to go under the zipper so that the strap is on the side of the zipper of the body of the fabric. You don't want it on the lining side, you want it on the outside, the main body of the fabric of the bag. And after I get it threaded through that side, I will pull it with my fingers, make sure it's not twisted, and stick it out this other side. So we'll reach up through this hole between the zipper and stick it out the end. There's one end of it, and I'm just going to pull it even with that zipper. And then make sure it's flat, not twisted. And then I'm going to stick it out this other side, also on the side of the zipper that's next to the bag, not the side next to the lining. Okay, so now the zipper is on top of the strap, and then you're going to match this side seam with this side seam, making a little box pleat just like you did a minute ago, but you're going to center this side seam right on the tab, or right on the teeth of the zipper, and the same thing on this side, like that. It is all sandwiched with the seam, the zipper tape, the strap, and the side seam on the back, all matched up together. So I'm going to stitch right across there. On this side, I'm going to do the same thing, match up. I'm going to push this strap back on the body of the bag, are all matched together in a sandwich like that. Make sure that this is fully open. 1, 2, 3, and there's the pleat on the back. Stitched. This one's ready to be stitched, and then we'll turn it right side out. All right, this is ready to be turned right side out. The zipper's already open, and so it's easiest to go to the very extreme end and push that through first. So there's the bottom of the body of the bag. And just start pulling it out to follow that. There it is. There's the zipper and the strap. So, trim off that little thread. And the last thing that needs to be done is this little opening that I turned it right side out through needs to be stitched closed. And then it's finished, and it will stick neatly in the side of the bag, and will be ready to just pull out and use as a purse when I'm at my destinations, and it won't be a big bulky extra item that has to count as my carry-on, so, or as my personal item. And this is how it's going to fit. So there's the Velcro that I sewed down in the inside of the bag, and since I placed it on this piece at the same time, I know it's going to match. Let me see. So there's the Velcro right there. We'll match it right up. There's the Velcro over there. Matches nicely. So when I go to load this, I'm going to load my wallet and my comb and everything that I would ordinarily keep in my purse in this pocket inside this carry-on bag, or this personal item bag, and that way it will be ready to just snatch out of here and go once I get to my destination, and I can carry this as my purse. So I think it's genius, and I can hardly wait to use this bag. And considering that we're going overseas 4 times this year, I think I will probably get plenty of use of this bag. In fact, I'm going to use it on the trip that we're taking in about a month. So let's measure this and see how it works. This is the ultimate bag. It's 8 inches deep from here to here, 17 inches wide, and it is 14 inches tall. And as you can see, there is a ton of room.